Okay, welcome to today's Retrieval Market Demo Day. The date is Wednesday, the 16th of March, 2022. And today we'll be hearing from William from CryptoNetLab on JWT and then hopefully Nicola from CryptoNetLab about some of the latest stuff they've been working on. Please put any comments or questions in the Filecoin Retrieval Market Slack channel, and over to you, William.
Thanks. So let me share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. This is William from CryptoNetLab. So I'm going to introduce you the JWT, the IPOD ledger database, which will be scaling the blockchains with the off-chain trusted data storage from CryptoNetLab. So I'll take about 10 to 15 minutes to introduce you what the JWT is and how you can benefit from this solution. Firstly, let's take a look at, so let me remove this tiny window. So let's take a look at the architecture, high-level architecture of the JWT and how we vision the future and solve the problems in the usual blockchain scenarios. So CryptoNetLab envision the JWT family to explore how components such as record keeping, this is about storage, and smart contracts, this is about computation, can be moved off-chain to enable more robust computation and storage requirement without sacrificing security and scalability requirements. For example, with off-chain storage, the data no longer need to be hosted by all the nodes in the network, but just the nodes that are performing the computation. So another example is, so computation engine, so it doesn't need to be packed to the layer 1 chain. Instead, so the computation can be performed as an off-chain node, so which you probably already see here. The off-chain node will do the computation job. So in this way, we abstract away the storage to the off-chain provider, which means we can immediately reduce the redundancy storage requirement. So in this scenario, when a transaction is received by the chain node, the node must fetch the initial state. So there's an initialization phase, initial state from the storage node. After the computation, the chain node will send the result or the resulting state to storage to persist. So in this way, this is how the computation can be performed by the off-chain node. In similar, so how the storage can be, so this is the scenario how we can abstract the storage to the off-chain provider or the node. The computation can also be offloaded to a similar node. So we can have an off-chain computation node. So in this way, the state transition function can be computed by a separate computation node, which is the off-chain node again. We didn't show it here, but it's a pretty similar concept. So again, in this way, we don't need to store the computation input and output on all the nodes. It will only be needed by the off-chain node. So the redundancy, the storage redundancy is not needed anymore on the whole network. So this is how we design the whole off-chain node to the on-chain network. So as you can see here, we in the CryptoNetLab's Jiaozi family, we will have the JiaoziDB, Jiaozi Spark. JiaoziDB, from the name, it's pretty straightforward. It's a high performance storage solution. In this case, we can say it gives you the key value storage to the state storage. And the Jiaozi Spark is pretty similar. From the name, if you are familiar with like Apache Spark, so it gives you the computation. So in this way, we can power the off-chain computation node. So this is how we design the computation and the storage with our product family. Okay, so this is a evolution to off-chain model. And as a JiaoziDB product is to scale the blockchain with the off-chain's trusted data storage. It can give the Web3 ability to hold the information or to manage the information explosion, so that with the no redundancy, data can be better managed and processed by the off-chain nodes, including storage and the computation. And this is how the JiaoziDB can solve the data integrity problem. The other thing I want to show you is the brief or the high-level 2-year roadmap. So in 2022, we will start our architecture design in April, and by end of October, we hope to see the storage layer and the application layer ready for usage. There probably no JiaoziDB, the first version of JiaoziDB yet, but the key components should be ready by October. So we can start using them in some scenarios as separate modules. But anyway, by end of December, we will release the first version with the key features and the interface to the users. By December, probably we don't have the SQL support, which will be essential to Web 2 businesses. But in Web 3, we hope JiaoziDB version 0.1 can start to be used by the Web 3 scenarios in some projects. And in 2023, by end of February, we will give the SQL support and the Jiaozi Spark for computation capability. So this is the time when we can start serving the Web 2 businesses. So they can use the SQL interface to read and write data from JiaoziDB and manage the data or even do the computation. In July next year, we plan to roll out the cloud service. So this is a place where you can subscribe the service without having to manage the JiaoziDB network by yourself. Okay, so this is the roadmap. This is the JiaoziDB family, the Ledger database, KV database, and the Spark, the computation platform. The last thing I'd like to share is this one. Okay, so this is IPFL computing over IPLD. So you can see here, we have multiple transactions going to the chain node. And the computation will be done as tasks by workers. So that how the workers are scheduled it's by the JAWS orchestrator. It's a scheduler. It will schedule the tasks to different workers based on specific or certain policies. So tasks are done by workers. The necessary data storage is done to this part, the storage node. And the result will be synchronized back to the chain node by the pop-stop mechanism, so that the node will know when the computation is done and where it can go and fetch a result. So this is the high-level architecture of the computation. So because the computation is, so in this architecture, you can see the computation is decoupled from the blockchain node. So it means the computation can be run like a serverless function. So like the typical FAS, so like the Amazon Lambda service. So the off-chain computation allows a combination of the blockchain ledger maintained status, the state with a serverless function. So you can imagine, so in this King Cloud service as an ecosystem of the chain nodes and task orchestrator and the workers. So this is how we hope to give the whole network the computation capability with this architecture. Okay, I think that's it for introduction to JAWSDB today. If you have any question, feel free to let us know. Thanks.
Great, thanks very much. Yeah, any questions for William of Ken Labs on what we've just seen? Cool. Well, yeah, keep asking questions in the Zoom chat or the Slack channel if you've got any. And now let's hand over to Nicola from CryptoNetLab to speak about what they've been working on.
Hello, just give me 1 second that I'm going to show my screen. Okay, dokes. All right, so this is a public page, so you can get to see what's going on in here. And so for those who don't know us, CryptoNet is a applied crypto research group at Protocol Labs, and we're looking into traditionally we've been looking into proof of space and Filecoin protocol design, several authors of several FIPs, and now we're looking into some ways to look at retrieval markets. And we're focusing mostly on retrievability. So guaranteeing retrievability and giving metrics on good retrieval nodes. So the project here is a storage metrics DAO. I don't know why we just decided to call it DAO. It's more of a consortium, but there are plans to make it more decentralized later on. The idea is that if we can scan the network for metrics, and we add a way to report these metrics in a way that could be aggregatable and unbiased, then we would have on-chain metrics for miners, not just miners, not just storage providers, also IPFS nodes. So the thesis here is that if we can have on-chain metrics for storage providers, Filecoin or not, and these metrics could be realistic and objective, then we can add rewards based on these metrics. Not just us, anyone can say, we're going to give rewards to the top 10 miners, to top 10 providers. And the goal is that we believe that the network will optimize towards these metrics. So if we pick good metrics and we have a good way of reporting them, then we believe that this is going to be overall great for the network, because this is some sort of optimization function that everyone will have. The protocol in high level, it's what we want to do, it's very simple, which is let's have a network of auditors. This network of auditors, they scan the network or they simply use the network. Let me give you an example. Estuary is a node in the network and they use the network constantly. They talk to a lot of storage providers and so on. So if you are a user of the network that uses the network very intensively, then you should be an auditor in this network. Then the idea is that there is an incentive mechanism for auditors to report through metrics. There are several ways that we're looking into. Some have to do with survey-based reporting. Some have to do with agreeing with majority. But in other words, we're coming up with schemes where it is an incentive not to collude to other nodes, to other auditors in the network. And the least you collude, the more rewards you get. Think more of like if you know where a mine of gold is, you don't go and tell to everyone. And the idea is that if you know the good information about the network, you don't go tell anyone until you get rewarded for this. So we want every player to be to build a lot of like network intelligence and share the results widely, but in a way that if they earn rewards at the moment in which they share, and they don't want to share them earlier. What we do, we aggregate these metrics on chain, and then finally we give incentives to storage providers that provide good service. The way that we're looking into this is that there are 5 steps, and we're like barely at step 1. And the 5 steps are the following. At the very beginning, we want to have an open call for partners that are already scanning the Filecoin network. This is because we don't plan to build any software for scanning the network, at least today. And these partners are, for example, the Retrieval Bot, Estuary, maybe Starboard or Mile, whoever has already built a lot of this infrastructure for scanning the network. The goal is to have an aggregator node that gets all of these signed statements, and then they aggregate the signed statements and they calculate a reputation score for each storage provider. This step, I think it's just a bootstrap step. There are more details here. These are the groups that we're looking into, talking to. If you believe that you're one of those storage auditor, like reach out, Nicola@protocol.ai, or just through the Slack. And yeah, so we're trying to agree on metrics and agreeing on how do we run the aggregator node. And then just so that you understand the next steps is that the very beginning is going to be an initial consortium, and we're only going to scan the Filecoin network. Step 2 is to scan anyone, not just storage providers in Filecoin, but any IPFS node that want to subscribe to being scanned. So what you do as a node, you say, hey, I want to be scanned. These are the files that I claim that I have. And then the network will start scanning you as well. Then we have a third step, which is incentives for retrieval providers, which is the thing that once we calculate the score, we would like to get protocol labs and maybe the foundation and other partners to give some rewards to those that are doing great with their stats. And the goal, of course, is to find sponsors for the first round of retrieval. So once we have this incentivized retrieval provider nodes, then we want to run the last step, which is incentivize auditors. At the very beginning, the auditors are just like an initial consortium. And step 4, we want anyone to become an auditor. Auditors should also be incentivized. I think that the way we're going to incentivize them is by having themselves a reputation score. Highly likely is non-tradable. And you build, the more reputation you build, the more you can participate with power in the network. And then finally, this will go, whenever FEM will launch, this should be a contract on FEM, and we will, and this will be up and running live There are some more documents in this doc if you want to go and look at what are the metrics that we're looking into, what is our research, what is the high-level protocol spec. But that's it for the storage metrics DAO.
Awesome, thanks, Nicola. Has anyone got any questions for Nicola? No. All right. Well, thanks very much for joining today, guys. I will put the recording up on YouTube as soon as I can, and then we can share it with others who weren't able to make this time slot. Thanks for joining, and catch you guys later.